Today we are going to be working with images via CSS. This is different from using an image editing program. We will be working with our finished images and manipulating their presentation on the page via CSS. So let's see what we can accomplish. We're going to manipulate our images in CSS. So we're going to go through a few examples and see what we can do with CSS and our images. So the first one, we're going to manipulate size. So right now we have defined three classes for the image: large, medium, and small. Right now I have displayed a medium and small image. This is actually the same image. It just has, by CSS, we've defined a size for it. So for our medium image, I'm going to change the size so you can see how it gets affected. So if I change this one from 250 to say 375, you'll see it becomes stretched out. Now if I disable the height, then it's going to resize proportionally. There we see it's become much bigger. Now I'll put the height back in. It's a flat image, and if I change this one, if I give it a height of 100, you'll see it becomes even thinner. And so that's 100 pixels. So that now this one matches the small image. So change this one back to 250 pixels. And that's what we started with. So that's manipulating image size by CSS. So we can also add images to the content. So we're going to use this pseudo class, new item, before. So let me go to the HTML to show you what that looks like. So here we have paragraph, class, new item. This image is added via CSS. Notice there's no image tag here. We're going to go back to the CSS we're using. So we're going to say we have an empty content, which means technically it's a empty string there, but we do want to have a background image, which is where our image is going to come from. We're going to display it as an inline block, and we're going to give it a width, 40 pixels by 30 pixels. And we're also going to tell the background size to be 30 by 40 with no repeating. And we want a margin right of 5 pixels. This 5 pixels gives it a space between here and the text. I'm going to double the size here so you can see this a little bit better. Okay, so that's what this looks like. There's this space here. Now I'm going to reduce this space to 0 pixels. You'll see that the text and the image go right up with each other. But I do want a little bit of a space. Okay. So we've added this image to this context, and this image is actually pretty big. Let's see. We change its width and height. That changes the width and height of the element, and we can change the background size to match. There we've added our image, new content, and changed its size. So that's how you can use CSS to add images to existing content. Now let's go on to the next thing. Okay, so we'll talk about the header. So for our header element, I'm going to use a background image, and I'm using this pattern, and I only want it to repeat on the x-axis. So it's going to repeat this way, x-axis. We want the text to be white, and I give it a padding of 1 EM. So there's 1 all the way around this. Remember, 1 EM is capital letter N in the current font. And so that's how you can add a background to an element. So if I go down here in the code, you can see it's header, paragraph, this is a header, and that's the end paragraph. There's no image tag here. It's all done by CSS. So if I do an article within here, or the navigation, it appears here, and also gets the background because it's part of this inner element, this element. Now, what about these other options? So that we're going to demonstrate with the background. So I'm going to comment this out so that our images doesn't show up. Now we're going to change the background. So we're going to add a background image first. Then we can decide if we want to repeat it on the axis. So if I repeat only on the x-axis, our background images goes through the x-axis. Let me change it this to Chrome so we can have a more full view of that. Okay. So here you see the background image is all on the x-axis. Okay. Now you can even do the y-axis. What does this do? It makes it go up and down. So the image repeats this way. And let me change the background image so you can see different effects. So that image is on the y-axis. And you can see it going across as well. Now we can also do, let me see, change this back to the pattern. So with CSS you can't change the opacity of the image. You'd have to do that in an image editing program like GIMP or Photoshop. But you can kind of simulate what it would look like with some other CSS. So let's take a look what it looks like now. So this is the full page with that pattern. No, why is it not going back? Okay. So we're going to change the opacity here. And why is that not working? Oh, because I have two of these. Okay. There we go. So here we're specifying a background color. And remember RGBA, so 255, 255, 255, this means white. And we give it 30% opacity. If I change this to a higher opacity, 70%, so the white is becoming more opaque, and it's kind of fading out our background image. Notice the color here? I think I can demonstrate that quickly in the WebKit. Okay. I guess the WebKit doesn't support that, but Chrome does. Okay. Let's see. Just to show you the different values. Here we go again. So if we change this one to 50%, see how it changed back to a little bit darker? Okay, it was 90%. You can barely see the pattern in the background. So 65%, it's almost visible. So how is that working? So what we're doing, we're specifying a background color. We're specifying the background color's opacity. So the more opaque it is, the lighter the pattern will become. So we're telling it to repeat. And how are we going to do that? This CSS here, background, blend, mode, color. So blend this color with the background image. And so that's simulating opacity. So I'm going to comment those out and talk about a fixed background. So here we're going to pick a background, which will be our tulip. We don't want it to repeat, and we want it to stay where it is. And that's where it's going to be. Now if I resize this, actually I'll probably resize it this way. So as we scroll up and down, the background doesn't move. And we can even center it. So if we click and comment this one, so background, position, center to the top. Now the image is centered and fixed at that place. So however big we make the screen, it still tries to fix itself to the center of the visible area. Okay. If I go like this, it stays where it is. Okay, let's see. Talk about this one next. So I'm gonna uncomment some images. Go to Chrome. So here's some more images I've added. Oh, that one's already working. So our book talked about background position. So let me talk about this. So button leaf hover. So we have this hyperlink right here, and it says leaf, but for this my button link, we're actually looking at this image here. Let me just show this image by itself. Notice there's two pictures here. I mean, that's not two pictures. This picture has two parts. There's a part where that's in green. There's a part that's kind of grayed out. And with CSS, you can tell how big it's going to be. It's going to be block 100 by 100 pixels. That's the image we're going to use. I'm not sure why they use text indent 9 times. And when you hover over it, go to the position 0, 0, which is go up to here. And so when we look at that, it starts out at gray, but then changes color. So that's one image just changing. Before this, people used to load a. So it was found that it's faster to load one image and just manipulate it by CSS. Let the browser handle where in that single image you want to move the cursor, move the what's it called, frame of reference, instead of loading multiple images. You can of course load multiple images. Let me show you what that would look like. If I wanted to load something totally different, maybe I'll load Mario. So now, see, works almost the same way, but now when I hover over it, I get a totally different image. Let's see if that makes it look a little bit better. No. There we go. Looks a little bit better. So that's using two images and not the single image map. Okay. And oh yeah, here's where it loaded the bottom frame. That. Okay, now we're going to talk about. So let's see what we reviewed over. So we changed image size by CSS. We have these images. We have the hover effect. Now I'm going to show you something that's not in our book. This is called 3D transformations. So let me uncomment this out. Uncomment, please. Okay. And show you how this works. So we use a lot of code that's not standard CS, hasn't been standardized. So let's take a look at what it is. First, we're going to add a box shadow, and then we're going to do a transformation. So what is this transformation going to do? So our first variable says scale 2.5. So we're going to enlarge the image by 2.5 or 250%. Then we're going to rotate it -3 degrees. And so I used line item. Whenever you hover over it, nth child, so I mean any odd numbered line element is going to be, this is the CSS that's going to affect it. Now the opposite for the even numbered image, read the whole thing. So line item, hover, nth child, that's even, and that's an image. We're also going to do something different. We're going to do a box shadow, same box shadow. We're still going to scale it by 250%, but this time we're going to rotate it 5 degrees. So it means it's going to rotate in the opposite direction. So what does this look like? Let's see. Okay, here we go. Enlarge 250%, going the other direction. So this is a different list, these images here. So that's the first one, that's the second one. Notice it went the other way. So it's becoming larger and rotating. And that one still remains the same because this is actually a hyperlink. And so that's a lot of, and last but not least, oh, I did talk about the header. So this is some of the great things you can do with manipulating images via CSS. Thank you.